बिसर गई सविता ठिपराई, बिसर गई सविता ठिपराई। जब ते साहट संगत मोह पाई, जब ते साहट संगत मोह पाई। बिसर गई सविता ठिपराई, बिसर गई सविता ठिपराई। ना को मेरी नहीं बिगाना, ना को मेरी नहीं बिगाना। सागुल संग हमको बन आई, सागुल संग हमको बन आई। सविता
Every culture has a story, a worldview that explains who we are, what life is, and what our purpose is. Our story shapes the way we think about the world, and thus how we behave in the world. Since we are born and raised in the story of our culture, it is all we've ever known, and so we believe this story to be the truth. For most of us, this story is so rooted in our way of seeing the world that we don't even know it exists. To us, it's simply just the way things are. So what is the story of our modern culture? What are the beliefs that shape our understanding of ourselves and the world we live in? What is the story that we live by? And is it possible for us to see this story as a story? Or is it so deeply ingrained in our way of thinking that it is impossible to look at it objectively? Our complex culture lives under the influence of two main stories, the most widely accepted of which tells a tale of us existing as separate bodies in an unintelligent universe made of matter, and through a random and unlikely process of evolution, humanity came to be. The second story tells a tale of us being created by a powerful deity who created us in his image and who is the ruler of this universe, to whom we must worship and respect. These two stories shape the way that our society functions, because they shape the ways in which we as individuals perceive the world, and thus how we act in the world. Our current stories suggest that we live in a world in which our individual lives are of little significance. Our stories promote a worldview in which our survival is dependent upon competition and a struggle to gain resources at any cost, even at the expense of our fellow human beings. Our stories have created a world in which we fight against each other and fight against the natural world in order to survive. And so, we've created a world in which we are rapidly destroying the earth that sustains us in a deluded attempt to further our own survival. If we are to ever be free of the confusion and destruction that is our current way of life, we need to slow down and take a moment to observe the beliefs that shape our understanding of ourselves and ask ourselves with honesty, sincerity, and genuine curiosity whether these beliefs are serving us and whether or not they are actually true. When we change the basic belief structures on which our worldviews are standing, we can change the very world that we live in. And the belief that influences us most of all is our belief in who we are. We need to change our definition of self, because our current definition is that the self is something that is separate from the rest of nature. And this doesn't reflect how reality truly is, because the truth is, we are not separate, isolated beings like our culture leads us to believe. We are all strands in the web of life, parts of the greater whole of nature. And more than that, we are the whole of nature expressed as individual parts. It can be challenging and even frightening for some to change our definition of self and to change beliefs that we have identified with all of our lives. But until we realize this fundamental truth, that our true self is the whole of nature and that all beings are a part of ourself, then we cannot have peace and harmony on earth. When our actions reflect our understanding of oneness and have in mind the benefit of the whole, then every action will be one that benefits all beings. But to accomplish this, we have to be able to look at our cultural narratives, question the stories that we live by, and change this worldview of separation by realizing that ultimately all is one. All is self.